Yo, notice this isn't live. It's less effective to do live videos. I don't know, like for the algorithm, that just means it's less effective for me because I have to download it and then edit it and re-upload it. So I'd rather just do it like this and then post it. So it's been a couple weeks since I made a video, and I think I've been trying to find my audience. I've been trying to isolate, not really, but I think the way I think of this is I'm growing my roots deeper, right? Deeper. And in order to reach high, you have to have deeper roots, right? So they say, like, or you see it sometimes on trees, the roots are as big as the canopy, right? And there's almost like as much space between the roots and the canopy. So for me, I focus on digging my roots because what I noticed is, and I feel like it's like this for trees. Trees. I just want to make sure I turn my headphones off. So trees don't really just stretch to grow, right? They just grow. Or plants in general, like nothing really stretches. It's pulled up, right? And it's pulled up by the sun, right? So the sun kind of pulls it up with the heat, and it's actually the water that's trying to evaporate out of the ground that's going through the tree. It's being pulled up by, there's a term, I can't remember the term, but it's basically how sticky water is as it moves up the ventricles, right, the veins of the tree, and it gets evaporated through the tree, and then it gets released into the leaves as carbon dioxide, and that's what feeds the tree. But the process of something coming from the ground, growing through the tree, and usually there's a bit of residue left over, which is how the tree trunk expands. So it's growing through the tree, leaving some mineral residue, and being formulated in the food as it goes along. But ultimately, its path is to be absorbed through the leaves, right, as carbon dioxide. So my cat's making some noise. So what does that have to do with me or this video? Well, I think of things like that, and for me, when I was younger, I always tried to stretch, and I was always coming up short. I was never meeting my expectations, let alone the expectations of other people. And it took me a long time to finally understand. I'm 30 years old now, right? It took me a long time to finally understand that I was never supposed to measure up to somebody's expectations. Because almost always somebody's expectations of you are limited, right? So even if somebody expects the highest of you, that can never truly be the highest of you, right? Because if they did, they wouldn't expect anything of you, right? Because somebody's highest expression of themselves is an internal to external expression, not an external to internal expression. So what that means is it has to come from inside of you out and be brought to the world. It can't come from the world to you and then for you to accept it as your truth. And I would say that this is something that you would think most people generally know, but our culture is so pressing. Ram Dass says culture is so thick, right? So thick, you can't, like, no matter what, you try to pull yourself out of it, there's something else that's going to pull you back in. There's no way you can get around it, really. And that's why, people go and live in the woods and stuff like that, but it's like, how's that going to help you? You want to go live in the woods, eat some squirrels? Like, sure, go ahead. You want to go to a monastery? cool. You know, do you want to become a renunciate, give everything up? That path's out there, man, and then it's not like you can't do it. The way I always look at it is, for me, it was never about taking care of myself. That was something that was very easy to do, and I don't need shit. So, I literally would be happy living out in the woods, right, doing all this stuff, survivalism. I'd be happy doing that because my mind would be occupied and all this other type of stuff. But it would change me, and then you have to ask yourself, like, if I was supposed to do that, why would I be here right now? Why wouldn't I be in the woods? Like, why would I be born into this culture? Why wouldn't I be born into like a tribal culture who's already doing that? Because they are out there. And people like to say, well, I didn't choose where I was born. I didn't choose who I was brought up. I didn't choose who raised me. I didn't choose my family. Wayne Dyer gives the definition of responsibility as the ability to respond. And so the way he says it is, if you notice something and you have the ability to respond, that's your responsibility to do something about it. It's that simple. It's that simple. If you have the ability to respond to something, you have the responsibility to do something about it. And nobody wants to hear that. I hate hearing that. I have a shirt, I'll have it on now. It says everything is my fault. It's a mindset. First it was I was a black sheep of the family. I'm sure you were too. I'm the black sheep wherever I go, right? So it's like, okay, I'll fucking take it. I don't care. Give it to me. I'll take responsibility because I know for me, I know that's my win. That's my L, that's my win, but that's mine. If you don't take responsibility, then you can't have it. It's not yours to take, right? You can't respond to it. I can, so I'll take the credit, right? And so you have to ask yourself, okay, like the way this all goes back is like, what's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of life, right? Well, there's a collective purpose and there's an individual purpose, right? The collective purpose is for us all to go back to where we came from, right? And to stop creating negatively, basically, to stop fucking off, to stop fucking up, to live well and to live well and prosper fairly, to live well and prosper fairly, right? That's the idea. It's like, okay, that's the idea. How do we do it? Well, that's the question. That's what everybody's trying to answer, right? And people will sell you stuff on this, right? And they'll charge you more, like real money, and expect you to pay it. And this is what they did back a couple hundred years ago with the church and stuff like that. And the idea is for us individually, it's not about buying our way to peace or heaven. Like I'm sure you know that doesn't work. Money can only buy so much. The biggest thing money can buy you is time for self-inquiry, time for introspection, right? Time to figure yourself out. It's an inside game. So for me, I've been in business for almost 4 years now. And actually, I've been in business for almost 5 years now. And when I got into business, I figured it was going to be pretty easy, and it seemed to be pretty easy. At least making money for me was generally easy. I ended up like matching my salary, which wasn't hard, like within a couple months. Like it was pretty fucking quick. But I realized, and this is something that I didn't I wasn't as aware of until it became 100% my responsibility. I slowly became aware of it when I used to do direct sales for State Farm, outbound sales. So I had to cold call people. And I realized I don't really like cold calling people. And so I slowly started to become self aware, right? And then throughout my time in business, I started to make less and less money. And the reason is because I stopped just taking people's money. Um, so I've realized that there's an exchange going on there. Like, you can't just take people's money and have stuff not happen. And then I realized that people are willing to just throw money at you to give you responsibility for something that they don't want to do, right? And that's business, right? But you have to make sure that the person who's buying from you has just as much buy-in as you do for getting the thing done, because otherwise they're not going to help you, and your customer needs to help you deliver on the project. Right? It's not something you can do alone. You at least need their information. So I was making less and less money, and the reason is because I realized that my mind was fucked up. Whenever I would meet with somebody, I would assume that they had some real fucking negative intentions, and I was bringing all my baggage from my past with me, from my coworkers, and just all this shit, and bringing it into the marketplace, and then expecting for it to not affect me, not for it to not affect the deals, the relationships that I was in. I mean, it definitely did. It definitely did. And so if it did, it's like, okay, man, how many people did I fuck up just by doing that, right? And so what I realized is, for me, if I'm truly going to be about service, which is, like, I love business, I love making money, but something you don't know about me is I did honor guard for like 4 years, military honor guard. So, and I didn't do it for the money. I got like $20 a day, $30 a day. I just did it because I loved it. I love serving. I love feeling. I love the feeling you get when somebody appreciates something that you do. That's my fucking thing, right? So, and it can be applied to anything. It can be applied to like getting a like on this video, right? Because this video is serving you in some way, shape, or form, and so you like it. So anyways, that's what I'm about. It's great now because I finally get compensated for the amount of time, effort, and energy that I put into my service. But it wasn't always that way. I had to go 3 years without it. And in those 3 years, I was on unemployment. Chelsea was on unemployment. I spent all Chelsea's money. Like, we took it down, right? But the thing is when you're doing something like trying to start a business or trying to change your mindset, which is what I really did, was I went from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, right? That's another video. But I had to reset my brain. My brain was stuck in place. So I had a couple tools. I still do a couple tools. I'm about to start another protocol, right? About to start another protocol to get to my next level, but I always want to document before I just jump into the next one. So I had some protocols to get my mind right. And some of them are daily, some of them are weekly, some of them are monthly, some of them are annual, right? Daily protocols, I think, are the most practical, and they're the less disruptive, so they're the most graceful over time, right? So for me, my daily protocols, and it's changed over time, right? Originally, it was like fucking 5 hours long. It was forever. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd do some breathing, smoke some weed, right? Weed, that's up to you if you want to do it or not. And then I'd basically do some yoga for about an hour, right? Sometimes there'd be some chores in between there, but it's usually meditation, then yoga, and then breath work, and then a deeper meditation, right? And that's about it. And then it used to be journaling and self-reflection too, right? And then eventually planning for the day. Now, it was a lot for me. And it took forever. So the first 2 3 years, that's how I did it, and it would take forever, and it was exhausting. And what I realized is this was exhausting because I had no training. My mindset wasn't right. I didn't have the reps in, and so I needed to keep putting in the reps, and eventually I got there. So that's where I am now. Now, as long as I stay generally with some type of movement in the morning, some type of breathing in the morning, and some type of meditation in the morning, I'm good. If I don't do those, if I don't do one of them, like any one just on their own is fine. But if I don't do any of them, I go right back. It's like a light switch, and that's the thing. The way I see it is, for me, the protocol is like when you go into work in the morning and you turn on all the lights, boop, 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 boop. You gotta do the same thing with your body and your mind. So you can't just jump. Too many people, like some of my employees, they just jump into work. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't just wake up and then start working. You gotta set your mind. You gotta get your mind right. You gotta give yourself mental space and mental freedom, because otherwise you'll think that your life is caving in on you, and it's not really. You're just not doing the work to push yourself out, and because you're not doing internal stuff to push out, everything is pushing in. So there's no you need internal pressure to match or exceed the external pressure that's coming in on you. So if you notice that the pressure in your life is getting too much, you gotta step up your intensity with how you're approaching it. All right, that's all I got. I love you. Talk to you soon. Peace.